everyone. I, CHR Misha, on behalf of Professional Skill Enrichment Committee ICAI, welcome all the participants in today's webcast on adaptability and collaboration, the agile mindset for CAs. I welcome today's resource person, CA Nakul Arora, and all present over here. To formally introduce our speaker, he isn't just a chartered accountant, he's a leader, communicator, and highly sought after educator in field of finance. His expertise extends far beyond the theoreticals and he has equally adapted at communicating soft skills, having conducted more than 350 sessions on interpersonal communication, leadership, showcasing his ability to connect with audience on both a technical and personal level. His experience isn't confined to the boardroom or a lecture hall. His work with a diverse range of prominent organizations, including Barco, Visit Health, Policy Bazaar, One Card, Saxo Bank, Hilton Group, Rockwell, etc., and his adaptability and expertise across various sectors. Finally, C. Arora's dedication to education is evident in his numerous contributions to online platforms, sharing his knowledge and expertise freely, helping to uplift the accounting profession. He's not just imparting knowledge, he's fostering a growth mindset in his audience. With this brief introduction, I welcome CA Nakul Arora for his deliberation. Over to you, sir.
Very much, CH Shah. What a delightful introduction. I really thank you for your kind words. And I hope I am able to do justice to whatever you've said about me. That was really nice of you to have said so much. Now, to begin with the session, it's only fair that we start with addressing and giving our warm regards to the Professional Skills Enrichment Committee of ICAI, CA Jayesh Aryaji as the chairman, and CA Abhesh Asharji as the vice chairman, and of course our secretary, our secretary Dr. Sambit Kumar Mishraji, and of course my very talented moderator for the day is CHR Misha. Thank you very much. So today it's a very interesting topic. Of course, we are talking about mindset and more than more than just talking about a standard one-to-one session. I like to make it a more interactive session. But if in case you are sitting with two or three people, be communicative about it, and it's always fair because you'll have a lot of questions. So please keep on putting your questions in the question and answer box, so we can answer them as we go, and afterwards, of course. It's not very keen. I'm not very keen about what you do for the next 2 hours. But if you take one or two pointers and you go back and apply them to your real and practical life, I think you will be. It'll be worth gold, even if one part of the session is applied to your practical, practice and professional endeavors, whatever you go for. So, firstly, we'll talk about how to embrace continuous learning. I would like to tell this part by, I take a lot of sessions on technical topics as well as soft skills. So many times when we go to different branches or we go to different rooms, it's not just about the online platform, but in the rooms, and both technical and non-technical sessions have the same feedback that we've been told by the branch that okay, try and finish it off by lunch. Okay, make it a shorter session, make it a crisper session. Actually, the problem is the CPE, or the continuous professional education. In medicine it is continuous medical education. It's a very integral part of the profession that we practice. And yes, because our entire profession is based on knowledge, it is only fair that we continuously learn, evolve with time, and of course spend a lot of time in the classrooms, not just by marking our presence, but by actually reaping the fruits of continuous learning, which is definitely a part and parcel of the profession. Moving on to that, you'll learn about emotional intelligence. It's an important topic, and PSEC is working day and night to make sure that this is imparted. At the end of the day, there's only some things that AI cannot replace. More than manual labor, more than just manual labor, one thing which AI will never be able to replace is to an extent, the emotional intelligence. So, to understand and react according to the emotions of the people that we are in conversation with is the skill which you must develop. Because I think more than any other thing that I do in my office, slowly and steadily, my staff has taken over most of the technical work that I do. And not that I don't have to do it, but I only solve the problems which they are not able to solve now. So, what is my job? My job most of the time is making sure that the professional work and the layman which is taking my service should be on the same page and should know what is going on and how they can, make better of the situation. Apart from that, there is how to develop resilience in a dynamic environment. So there's the environment is changing continuously. Someday they'll talk about how you can make best of how you can make best of the ESG practices, how BRSR reporting as mandated by SEBI, and suddenly you go back and hear that you can go for foreign outsourcing, and then somebody like me will come and tell you that even after anything that you might hear, the biggest cash cow for a CA firm even today, the 12,000 crore market in India is for audit profession. So remember my words. So there is a lot of dynamic environment around us. So the environment is constantly changing. So my only learning which I'm going to give you today, and I would want you to embrace, is how to develop resilience in this dynamic environment. Then, of course, fostering collaborative mindset. So, the topic today is adaptability, as well as the topic will entail collaborations. So, there's a lot of hustle around, there's a lot of talk around this word, that what is in essence collaboration, that how multiple professionals can come together and make use of their services. We've been reading economies of scale. We understand the cost is definitely affected uh, when you collaborate, but what we most of us are missing is that not just the cost, but even the skill is sharper, even our market is higher when we collaborate. So more than just the economies of scale works fine, is a good topic, is a good starting for a collaboration in terms of service, in terms of goods production, in terms of service provision. But for professionals, the biggest benefit of collaboration is the joint skill set of two professionals coming together. So I hope you guys will be keen about it, and I definitely will try to give you as much as you can gain from it. So first thing we'll talk about today is understanding the adaptive thinking. Then we'll understand how to embrace ambiguity. So you learned that we will talk about an agile mindset. Agility is actually being able to change. So first thing that you'll face, the first problem that many people face, is there's a lot of ambiguity. So there is a very important phenomena in science which is called Schrodinger's cat. Sorry, I cannot ask you if you've heard of it or not. So let's say that there is a box. Okay, so we have closed this box. There's a latch here, and while this box was closing, we have put in a cat inside this box. So there was a cat inside the box. So until this box is opened, this cat can either be dead or it can be alive. So it's both dead and alive at the same time. So this is a scientific theorem, Schrodinger's cat. But yes, you guys can use it like, until the situation comes, it is ambiguous. And once the situation comes, we want you to quickly react. So being agile has a lot of ambiguity, and how to embrace that ambiguity is what I will talk to you about. And of course, I'll try to facilitate your learning about it as well. A lot of innovation and creativity, how to innovate, how to be creative, because of course, everything is innovating and so is the profession. The profession is also demanding a lot of innovation, that how you can do better, how your services can take more and more how more and more services can be provided by my professional buddies, and how we can come up with new solutions for old problems, or how new problems are being solved. So that's the kind of innovation and creativity. Of course, that is what will distinct you. Our profession is completely non solicitation based, that we do not solicit work, we cannot do advertising. So of course, what makes us distinct is our creativity. So if you're creative enough in your solutions, chances of you being able to have better marketing or better positioning in the market is way higher. Moving on, Of course, we talked about continuous learning and how to embrace it, that there is continuous learning, and we would learn to embrace that continuous learning. Continuous learning, and then we'll talk about how your communication can be flexible, how you can be flexible in communication. So maybe I would not ask you to be rude to the customers, but I would want you to be firm to your clients. I would never ask you to I would never ask you to misbehave to an oddity, but I would want you to be sure of your decision, be show conviction when you talk, right? Now then we will integrate the adaptive thinking and how we can put it into practical life. I hope we understand that why are we in this room and how we're going to spend the next 1.5 hours, more than 1.5 hours of our day today. And I'll make sure that once you are, if you have heard it properly, if you have listened to me carefully, I promise you this is going to be the best 2 hours you spent in a really long time. And yes, there is always good to learn. Let's move on here. First, understand adaptive thinking. So first of all, it's a cognitive skill, of course. It is a skill to adjust your thoughts, approach, that how you approach a situation, what actions you take in response to new information, how changing situation or unexpected things change your approach, thinking, and your thoughts and your actions, of course. So maybe it's a very weird situation, but because this is coming up in a very common process. So let's say you have been working with a new client and they say that they work in the later hours and they have a US client they service, and you see that they are being paid in dollars, they've been paid in euros, they have been paid in dirhams, and when you see their books of accounts, you started GST filing for them, or maybe you didn't start anything, you just helped them incorporate or something. Okay, but let's talk about how would you, how would you go through the entire situation when you realize that. So let's say they have received good sum of money. Let's say they're receiving approximately 3 CR every week, and they are making payments to local vendors. They say, they tell you they're vendors, they're cutting, they're deducting TDS, and everything is happening. But they are giving approximately 2.95 CR to their vendors, or they say that, or what they claim to be their service providers. My question to you is, means you have to ask this question to yourself right now. What is your first reaction to this? I'll tell you what my reaction was. My reaction was, okay, this seems to be a mistake. I had doubts in my mind. First, this could be a paper company. This could be easily a paper company because, of course, everything is coming and going and nothing is being withheld. They're not making enough profit for the kind of turnover that they're doing, and they are not able to show me enough proofs. Now the problem here was, let's say that you know this client from a very long time, you know him to be, him or her to be a very very talented person, very outgoing person, and yes, they already earn more than 2 or 3 crores every year. Now the problem is that I want to make sure that I don't sign anything wrong. I want to make sure. Now how my approach changes, my reaction in this situation, I'll tell you, and let me just see, if you want to, you can post your reaction or better approach to this situation in your words in the chat box, of course, or in the Q&A box. My approach here was that I somehow started, make asking questions about the business. I somehow tried to ensure that I visit their location, and then they approached, they told me that they don't have a lot of business which happens at a particular location, or they just have these people who are being paid work, and this work is being transferred to the clients sitting overseas, and ultimately the payment comes, one and two drops, it goes to the vendor. Now my question to them was, can I see a little bit of those samples? And when they started, behaving a little strangely, or I should say, the behavior was suspicious, I have two options here. One is to complete the work and serve my long-standing client. I did my best, put the right qualifications, give an adverse opinion, give a If not adverse opinion, why don't you give a at least a well qualified or maybe a disclaimer of opinion can work in this case because you're not getting evidence, or ask this information officially. Instead of all of that, I decided that I can just use some sort of an excuse to get out of this situation. And I said, I have had a few bills I'll be raising to you because I've been giving you consultation. And because I've given you consultation, now I cannot be your auditor. That's no longer my problem. Now, maybe my approach could be right, could be wrong, but this is how I have to adapt to new information that I'm getting every next minute. And this, my friends, is adaptive thinking. I hope you guys understood adaptive thinking better. If not, if you, even if you don't have a complete understanding of adaptive thinking, it's good enough for me that you understand it better than you what you understood when you joined this session. All right. Now, moreover, let's talk about a little more about the agile mindset because I think the most important part of today's session is agile mindset. That how will you get your approach changed? So, there is a conventional perception of chartered accountants, okay? That what do you call them? Number crunchers, compliance specialists. Instead, I want you to see the CAs of tomorrow and how the CAs of tomorrow will be. What approach will the CAs of tomorrow have? Um I would use a very adaptive thinker, an emotionally intelligent leader, a resilient professional, and a collaborative strategist. Strategizing is not just good for your clients as a consultation, but why don't you understand that running our practice is also an empire in its own form? It is again another way of telling you that you guys are going to create the winning strategy for your own firms that you practice with, right or wrong. I hope you guys understand. Think about it, let it absorb, let it get in you, let it get inside your soul. Now, why do I say that? Because the world we operate in is more dynamic than it has ever been. So, what do you mean? It is changing faster, way faster. So, if you see, I'm not sure about this timeline because I will go back and read this after today's session. But I think the time that humans would have taken to evolve from a animal pulled cart or a foot ridden bicycle to a motorized engine would be way more than the time we've taken to fly after being able to develop the engine. And after the engines were developed, in the World War II, there were bombers. And it is just not, it's not a very old situation. I think 70 to 80 years ago, we were having 85 years ago, we had the World War, the Second World War. And today we have high quality bombers, we have radar bombers, we've got fighters, dog fighters, fifth generation aircrafts, everything. So the world is getting more and more dynamic. I'll give you another example. So when I was in school, Um, I think the touchscreen, the phones recently got developed. Touchscreen was not there when I was very young. I saw people using mobile phones in 1990s. People had mobile phones. Up until 2000, I would say 2007, 8ish, they did not have touchscreens. Then they came up with touchscreens in around 2009, 10, 11. In India, I'm talking about in NCR, we had touchscreen phones with many people in around 2009, 10, 11, maybe that time. Followed by that, by 2013, 14, we all had smartphones. Everybody was using WhatsApp. By the end of 2020, smartphone became a necessity. Even the most so I have my office next to a freebie shop where people get their grains for free in India. And most of the people who are claiming free grains have a smartphone in their hands. So how technology is being adapted, how people are moving from one place to another, how things are adapting is way quicker than it was before. Highways are being developed faster. We are having clashes and resolutions faster. Today, divorces are way faster than the people's marriages. So it's just a funny way to say that things are so fast that you have to be dynamic no matter what you might make of that. So laws are evolving overnight. So this GST, we're so relaxed after, I was so surprised when people were talking about that GST has given relief. GST is relieving this time. I'm so sorry. In 2017, the taxes have gone up from 12, 15% to straight to 30% or 28%. And now suddenly they pull it back to 18%. You're still paying 4 to 8% more than what you were paying earlier. Where exactly is your advantage? Well, because the evolution is so fast, it's less than 10 years to the law, and still a law which was there to give relief, people are celebrating relief from that law. So laws are changing overnight. The technology is disrupting entire industries in mere months. I can name a few technologies that have disrupted the entire industry in a few months. So when engines were developed, they took a lot of time to disrupt the technology of disrupt the industry of horse carts, the ironsmiths, the blacksmiths. They took a lot of time to get obsolete. But today, I was just reading a lot of articles about the self-driving cars, and I was listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's one of the most famous scientists in the world. Neil deGrasse Tyson said that in tomorrow's time, cars being driven by humans will get obsolete, and an entire industry which is driving community will go out of jobs overnight. I'll tell you the alternative. Why is it true? A few years ago, more families compared in the terms of number of cars. So because today the number of cars are too much, so you cannot compare absolute number of people who used to hire drivers. Today, very less people choose to use a driver instead of driving themselves, especially after development of technologies like automatic cars. Not just automatic cars. Let's forget about automatic. Even the crash, ADAS, so many features are coming in. Well meant highways means that you can drive very easily. Many people who earn way more than what was the basic income of people who used to hire a driver in 2000, maybe in 2000, is way different than today. So entire industry is getting turned into obsolete industry. EVs coming into the market, and then the travel becoming cheaper is making sure that the paid cars are not that popular that it became suddenly around when the cars were getting expensive. So this is how industries are being technology is disrupting industries overnight. And most important thing that you need to always remember, that you need to give it a give it a very consistent thought, and give it a very my word here should be, I'm sorry, I'm having a problem selecting the right word, that the most focus that you should keep on is that your client's expectations are shifting overnight. Client is constantly expecting something or the other. So recently, I was sitting in a boardroom in an audit committee's meeting. I work for them as a maybe you can just call it an independent director, or maybe I just do consultations for them. I'm not the auditor, but I had to sit in a meeting where the auditor was being talked to, and the directors of the company, especially the CEO, was not happy with the auditors because of the number of GST notices that the director was getting for the company. So they said that and that was statutory auditor, not internal, by the way. That was the statutory auditor in front of me listening to the director go about why that what is the point of me getting audited this amount from the largest accounting firms that I still get GST notices? What the hell are you guys doing? I don't even see an observation where I'm getting a notice. You understand? The client earlier used to expect that, okay, we need to get this over with. Then, of course, they expect you to have a good command over income tax and make sure that is sorted. They would want you to check the completeness, accuracy, and stuff like that. Now, the client is expecting, because the number of GST notices are huge, the clients are expecting statutory auditors to give them a confidence about the legal standpoint of their GST and their indirect taxes. So the client's expectations are shifting constantly. So you guys have to be active and aware of the situation. Now, the only way that you guys or me or all of us as chartered accountants, we will stay relevant is, I'm saying this is the only way. not an optional thing. This is the only way that we will stay relevant is by embracing the agile mindset. So all the things that I've talked about, all the situations that I've built in your head, all the hard work that I've done here, that your mind, let's say this is your CA mind. I'm making it like a flower because I hope CA's minds look like flowers. That uh, this has QRT, which is a quickest response time. So let's say that you as an accountant were dealing with these facts and suddenly the facts change to this. Your mind should adapt as way as this is changing. So this is the kind of thinking that is expected out of you. This is the kind of adaptive thinking that we look forward to from your of course practice, profession, learning, and your of course the service that we provide. And now let me tell you that the needs of many outweigh the needs of some or even the one. So, because if we all have the similar standpoint of needs, the similar standpoint of our service standard is more important that how good service, how well are all CAs providing services. So, even if let's say very less of us, even if very less of us give substandard services, the problem is the market responds to the services of chartered accountants. We all need to make sure that the elite services that we have been always praised about should be reflected in our current day's action. I hope you guys understand that part. First of all, understand this. There needs to be what? Flexibility. You need to be flexible. That as soon as a change arrives, I'm sorry, I need to change the color of my pen. Improve better on this. Yeah. As soon as a change arrives, as soon as the demand changes, the problem is that as a CA, your flexibility is not just one way. This is Mr. CA. This is Mr. or Miss CA, whatever you want to pick it up. I don't want to be gender biased. So this is the, sorry, it's a very bad CA that I've written. Give me 2 seconds. At least we should write our name properly. So this is a CA. There are two things that you're dealing with. One is the demand, whatever the demand is. So allow me a moment, please. Connection issue. So that's this is it. So let's say there are two things. So one, so there are two things. One is the basis. So this is the basis of your service. What are the basis of the service of a CA? It could be law. It could be statute. It could be standards. It could be guidelines. It could be case judgments. Or it could also be opinions. So these things are very consistently affecting our work. And then another thing which is as huge as these ones is the expectations. Expectations are as important as the basis of our services. Expectations could be from various departments. Expectations could easily be of our own team. The expectations can easily be of our team. And most importantly, the expectations of the client. So my question to you is, I want you to shift perspectives. When is my requirement for you to shift your perspective? It is not when one or two, it is if anything is different, I want you to have a different perspective. Anything changes, my perspective as a CA is destined to change. And that, my friends, is the essence of flexibility. So this person's head needs to light up at every hint of a change. This is what I'm expecting out of you. Not to say nothing less, nothing more, just a shift of perspectives or alteration of stratagem. Whenever a change occurs, I hope you guys are able to alter strategies right from the word go. The moment something changes, a CA should be able to shift their perspective, alternate strategy, and approach the problem with a new mindset and come up with great solutions. That is exactly what we are looking forward to. That is exactly what we are here to learn. Second, we need to have creativity. Now, this is another controversial point. What is creativity? Uh, when we say creativity, instantly our mind switches to arts. Okay. The moment we say creativity, our mind instantly switches to arts. So if I make a painting, if I'm speaking on a podcast, if I'm talking to if I'm talking to an actor or a singer, writer, musician, everyone you think and people understand have creativity. What they're doing is they are doing the same thing, entertainment or beautification or construction in a different way. In a different way, they are providing the same solution. Now, similarly, I, as an accountant, I'm aiming to give the same or similar or different solutions, but I want to be creative in my solutions. What is creativity? Why do we need to have a specific outlook that we will hire clients and give them the services they need? Why can't we add compliances, or maybe we change the entire structure? Why don't people discuss before they start their business with an accountant, and why do they straight away come to us with the expectation and they ask us, you just quote us the price? It's an important question to ask. Because we are not expected to be creative, we are not expected to provide solutions. Maybe if somebody comes up to your door and asks you for the price, they are not looking for services or solutions. They have a problem, they have a solution, they just want you to be a medium, a mute spectator of a rogue show being run right in front of your eyes, and you will definitely be paid mere peanuts for that. Instead of that, why not we be creative and command the respect that we deserve? That you come up to us with your problem, we will design a solution, and then we will decide what will be paid. And trust me, I might be hated in the entire country for saying this again and again and again, but what you are paid defines the value you are being given by the business community. As an accountant, whatever they pay us is how much they value the profession of accounting. There's nothing less or more. There is no other way a businessman shows respect rather than your paychecks. Coming down to the next part is ideas. Have creative ideas. Don't just stick to the same guns. Don't just start keep rusting around, oiling the same weapons to fight new wars. New wars require new solutions, new ideas. And new ideas can be beyond the limits of your accounting profession. Believe you me, that ideas are not just for your own business. You can give additional ideas wherever you think your expertise is, wherever you think you can help out another business. You should give efforts and you should give your input. That's just my opinion, and you guys can choose to, and let's talk about resilience. Now, people ask me, what do you say this? It's a very funny word, very fancy. Nakul, just keep on saying resilience, resilience, resilience. What exactly is resilience? Pardon my language if I say something not very smooth today. Well, resilience is a quicker recovery. I'll tell you what. One of the most important life skills that I think I tell all boys, girls, my friends, family is to drive or to ride or to have you operate vehicles. Because in emergencies, that's your operation of vehicles which is going to come in handy. My question is, there is a very common thing which happens on highways. Sometimes you have a near accident. You don't have an accident, but it's a near crash. Sometimes you even crash your car. The point is, if you've crashed and you've stopped, okay. Again, that also matters at how quickly you go back, respawn, and start running again. But if you've had a near crash and it is not possible to stop, you will have to operate. You're riding or you're driving at a speed of 120, 100. There is no opportunity that you are getting to stop, pause, and breathe until those 10, 15 seconds. Your recovery time matters a lot because then the second crash happens because you've not recovered from the shock of the previous ones. And most of the CA students have developed the ability to recover quickly because unfortunately or fortunately today they have 3 attempts during the year, and I don't know what is going on in the education portion of the profession of accounting, but I'm pretty sure and pretty content about one thing, that at our time, when the result used to arrive that we have not been able to clear the examination, the next attempt was just 3 or 4 months ahead, and we needed all the time in the world to prepare for it and to give it our best shot to clear those examination. Right? I hope you get my point. Moving on. Positive outlook. Think positive, think positive, think positive, think positive. We've heard this more than actually it matters. Honestly, thinking positive does not matter as much as people, and it does not matter in the way people have projected it. Positive thinking is not just I think about it, oh, my session should go nice, oh, my session should go well today, oh my God, I hope this goes well. I'm sure today's session is going to go bonkers. People are going to go crazy. I'm going to get LinkedIn emails. I'm going to get so many calls after the session. People are going to go to Google, take my number out and say appreciating words to me right after the session is over. What happens is positive outlook requires your achievements. You cannot stay positive without actually achieving. So it is like believe in yourself, believe in yourself, believe in yourself, and you fail the first task, you fail the second task, you fail the third task. There is no way your brain is going to continue to be positive. Even if you say it 1,000 times, your brain will still be in doubt. So why do say, there is something in everything. If you remember the conversations you've had with your parents, if you're Indian, especially Indian people have these conversations with the parents, they say, wake up on time. They say things like, wake up on time. So the morning routines, wake up on time, make your bed, go out, pray every day. No matter what religion you come from, there is a morning prayer that you have to say. Then they talk about things like, always have a routine, have a fixed time to wake up, have a fixed time to sleep, have a fixed time to eat. By sticking to a schedule, you give your brain the sense of achievement, a sense of control over something. And because some people of today's generation think that these are all boo these are days of the past. I agree with one thing that, and this is by research, that we all do not need to wake up at 4 o'clock. We are not all designed to wake up at 7, 6. There are different times we need to wake up, and there are different times we need to go to sleep. All of us. Only matter being the number of hours we need to sleep. There's no good or bad hours to sleep because that's all. Everybody is different in design. That you might know from your childhood. As students, you had different times you wake up, you used to sleep. There's one thing which is so important, that it should be fixed I agree it's capitalism that has made you have breakfast. It is capitalism that wants you to wake up at the same time. Everybody should wake up on the same time. But what I don't understand is that why we cannot stick to a particular schedule. That is one question which is a burning question for me. Yes. So the point is that you need to have achievements which contemplate, which correspond to the actual ideas that you're putting into your brain. So a positive morning routine, or maybe I should, replace the mornings with a routine. If there is a routine that you stick to, you give your first sense of achievement. So positive outlook, first thing is achievement. So first achievement, which is the most easiest to give, is a routine. Now other things. You see, many high achievers have taken too many degrees. Many of the accountants also, many CAs also show you you learn that they've had like 10 degrees, 20, 50, 60 degrees. What is that? Actually, every time they achieve a degree, they give their brain the positive outlook that they need, right? And similarly, similarly, what is the second thing is attempting more things. Attempt more and more things. The more things you attempt, the more achievements are on the table. Just allow me one moment. I'm so sorry, there is some sort of chaos around me. Yes. Second thing is attempt more. So have more things to do. Having too many courses is good enough for giving your brain the positive outlook it needs, doing more and more, finishing up more and more tasks. And the third thing, I'm not saying that this is something you have to do. Trust me, this is never the thing I can recommend or never a thing I should talk about to anybody, but this is just one thing which is in the history and people have been doing. They say that have long friendships. So I don't want to judge that how long you want to stick to people, but maintaining long friendships gives you the idea, gives your brain the satisfaction of your behavioral consistency. If your behavioral, it is like a behavioral validation of your behavior, of your approach, of your well being. All right. I hope that makes some kind of sense. Moving on. Keeping a positive outlook is important to resilience. In the today's world, I said you'll fall down, but I want you to get up and take the same approach again. We've already given a good amount of time to agility. Why not we start to talk about you know the embracement of continuous learning? How will a person embrace continuous learning? What do I mean by saying embrace continuous learning? Remember, there used to be a time when it was understood that what have you done? You're a CA, that's complete education. Wonderful. You're a doctor, education complete. MBBS was a good degree. Good enough. Just being a chartered accountant used to serve the purpose. Moving on, there were times where people used to expect that, okay, you're an engineer, that's enough. But today, there is nothing in the world which is considered to be a complete education. There is nothing, no sense of thing which is as a complete education. Nothing is a complete education. You need to constantly learn, constantly your approach has to change. Because let's talk about, why don't we talk about something which is very common, very close to the heart? I was watching an advertisement, and when we were young, I'm talking about me being young, so maybe most of you were adolescents, somebody could be. There were a lot of steel braces that we were seeing, a lot of wires were going through people's teeth to keep their, make their jaw position or their teeth position, corrective therapy, which was some sort of correctiveness which was done to the jaw. But comes to today, I've seen the advertisements. I'm not sure if it works or not, but some sort of a plastic or maybe another easy to remove shield is being worn by people, and their teeth are, their jaw positions are being corrected by it. Right? That is, if somebody is satisfied, content with the way they used to do things 5 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, you cannot say that you know it completely. Let's talk about another thing. I became a chartered accountant, and my trainings were going on in 2011, 12, 15, those times. And at that time, the softwares were just coming in, the IT softwares, and even there were no softwares for indirect taxation. When I was giving my final examination, GST was not a thing. Or maybe it was just there was an introductory phase. We used to go on AS. There was nothing called Ind AS. There was maybe nothing called IFRS. Talk about auditing. We did not have the standard on quality control back then. We did not have as much as awareness of the professional ethics. There were many things which were missing in those times. Fast forward to today, any of them you might have chosen as your profession. I did my articleship going to the income tax department for the smallest corrective notices. And fast forward to today, the approach has completely changed. Today, the approach is that in terms of indirect tax, we have GST. I studied service tax, and that too the positive list. In my finals, I studied negative list, but in the intermediate examination, I studied the positive list. So there's a lot of evolution. So, if I would not have gone into the sessions, if I have not attended the seminars, or maybe if I'm not doing, you can do self study. It's not like it's not continuous education if you're not doing self study. It is. Income Tax Act is completely changing now. It's coming Income Tax Act 2025. So, no matter how well you have studied the 1961 Act, you need to adapt, change, evolve, learn, educate. In terms of accounting, IFRS, ESG, S1, S2, these are the new things of accounting. Um, in terms of strategic management, it has changed multifold. There are multiple theories, multiple developments in terms of strategic management. Me knowing it because I do a lot of strategic work. And then cost management is also changing, developing rapidly. The way costs have been analyzed in the past 5, 10 years is beyond expectation, beyond understanding. If somebody, I'm taking the names of the subjects that used to exist back in my time. There are changes to the standards of security, cyber security, cyber audits. Everything is changing and evolving. So, continuous education is important. I don't think there is another thing that I can say about CA final being complete education. It is still a lot more to go. It's a long, long journey from there as well. So, things like AI, blockchain, forensic audits, ESG reporting, international taxation being so popular, cross-border transactions, multiple multilateral deals being signed with Britain, maybe now a few, another one is in the making with United States of America. So a lot of learning is being continuous. So you cannot CA who reads, upgrades, and experiments will thrive. One who resists will stagnate, and that is one thing which is my biggest and the boldest uh, attempt or my argument in front of you for embracing the continuous education part of the accounting profession. So, love it or hate it, that's the reality of it, right? moving on, it's not just about technical things. So you're doing continuous learning, but you think just learning the laws will be there. Leadership has to be changing because, of course, demand supplies change a lot of times. A good leader is the one who learns a lot about leadership too. So I don't know how many of you got a chance to see the Netflix show. It was a show, not a documentary. So I'll say it's a fictional show, semi-fictional, inspired by real events. So I had a chance to watch the show called The Crown, which was loosely based on the life of Queen Elizabeth the Second, I suppose. So I learned that the education she got for her school days was not similar to what the other students did, math, science. They did not learn that. She learned constitution, she learned the hierarchies, she learned justice and things like that. So why? Because leadership is again something which you need to learn. So that's the kind of learning also which is important for professionals. So negotiations, we beat the trumpets and beat the drums saying that we are underpaid, we are not paid well, but yet we are not ready to go into a classroom and learn negotiation. I've taken so many sessions from PSEC on negotiation. So many people I've attended so many sessions on negotiation. That's the weird part because not just I teach, I keep on learning because I go to other sessions and learn. Maybe there's something I'm still missing. So why don't you give some time and invest in yourself, leadership, negotiation, digital tools. ICI has a course on AI. I'm sure many of us are still missing it out. Why aren't we going in, registering for the course and taking our learning? And one critical thing which we are all not giving due importance is, I think, the psychology of the clients. The psychology of the client is also evolving regularly on a regular basis. The psychology of the clients evolve, and it should be one of the most important parts of your you know continuous learning, right? So how can you just let it go if you are not completely aware of the circumstances, if you're not completely focused on what's coming in, and you're not learning on a daily basis? It's very difficult to survive in a profession where your mind's abilities are on stake, right? Imagine there's a chartered accountant who's never learned analyzing a data analytics is what they don't never learned, and a client comes up and asks for fraud detection in a 5 million transaction. There's 5 million transactions, 50 lakh row columns. What do they do? Either they can outsource. There are two things to outsource. One, collaborative outsourcing. One is just collaborating with someone, which is very difficult to happen in a rush hour. Definitely outsource it or refer it to somebody else. You lose relevance. Maybe there is a chance of losing business in this case. For that, we will come to another point, which is how to create meaningful collaborations. But in this case, even outsourcing becomes a problem because very, very difficult to approach a new person when you have no idea of the industry, because you cannot approach two or three people, because you know what how many people in our country decide to run a business is the moment they have a problem, they will take their problem, go to four offices, tell their problem, take different solutions, and take different quotations, and they'll take the cheapest solution. They don't take the best solution, they take the cheapest solution, because their approach is the problem is solved in all the cases. The problem is that an individual does not understand the solution of the problem. Why? You know, I remember that long ago in 2011, 10, 11, my father was diagnosed with cancer. And we approached and had a surgery immediately. But when I grew up a little, I was told that my father was not of an opinion that he should go for a surgery because some different medicinal practices. I'm not going to name the medicinal practices because many people get offended if I tell them that this kind of medicine practice could have been harmful for my dad at that time. And since I did not lose anything, I don't keep on blabbering about what the other person recommended. So he was of an opinion that no, I can delay the treatment. Somebody else is giving me a cheaper solution. One of my uncles decided to take matters into his own hands and said that if A fails, the allopathic medicine, the modern medicine, the Western medicine, whatever you want to call it, if they fail, we have a person. If their solution is even if it's wrong, we still have you. But if the other person fails, they don't have enough time. Which they said that the modern doctors told us that you just have more than less than a month to go for the surgery, otherwise it will be beyond repair. And the alternative medicine was asking for at least 3 months to show some signs. So the moment those 3 months were over, and if it was beyond the repair for even the modern medicine, there was nothing in our hands to do. So I'm telling you that people have an approach of going and asking for different people. But what happens is, in between this shopping around, which I told you that how do people look for solutions, they go to different people for the same problem and ultimately settle for the cheapest solution. Now, the problem is, in these days, they come up to somebody of, let's say, anyone who's in this room, you take your name, they come to CAU and they settle for you that this you give the right solution and your solutions are working. Now, suddenly, if you outsource, what is your approach to outsourcing, even in this case? I have a lot of calls which I receive for sometimes environmental consultation, ESG consultation, MSME related consultations. I get calls regarding CA firm strategizing, disciplinary matters. I get calls regarding quality reviews, peer reviews. These are the things I do as an expert, accounting and everything. So what do I do in these circumstances when how this is very funny. Many people just call me and they tell me a problem and then say, what do you think? What you will do in this case? I said, I'll do this. And they might ask any smart number of questions. At the end, the question is the same, and the answer is the deciding factor is what you will charge for it. But I asked this person, he's solving this problem for this amount. I said, I don't know what the solution they're giving you, and I don't know what is their cost sheet, but my cost sheet tallies, and I'm sure it does because I've applied my services to my own sheet too. And this is the cost that I work for, and this is the cost that I'm ready to work for you too. And there's nothing, nothing different that I'm ready to offer. So this is the kind of approach which why I asked you to be learn continuously. And why do people have CPE programs for industries they'll never get in? At least you should be aware enough of different industries that you can suggest the right solution to the client. And that is only if you are willing to continue the traditional practice. Only traditional practitioners are expected to give multiple solutions. People like me, I have rarely have clients which ask me for solutions regarding anything else but what I do. I am rarely asked to solve problems related to GST return. Why? Because they don't know I do it. They know I don't do it. And they know I'm not interested in long-term family practices. I'm not interested in the family consultant business. So that's okay. For me, it is possible. But for people who are traditional practices, or I should call them like a long-term consultant for families, for business houses, I think you guys need to have the highest amount of even after being a master of something, you need to be the jack of all trades. You should know everything a little bit, and you should have the right contacts to approach trusted partners. And that is where collaboration will play a key. People like me need to collaborate for getting business. People who are in traditional practice need to collaborate to ensure that they have the right solutions for different situations. So both of them have a different approach. So who all of you are here with what is your background is important while you're sitting in this room. If your background is of a traditional practice, if your background is of a general practitioner, I would never ask you to collaborate multiple people or collaborate people by an approach that you will also give them business because or collaborate with people who will give you business because you are here with a number of people with a set of clients and you want to give services to them. The people who are expert in some industry rarely have clients they can outsource because ultimately we do not have the questions out of our service line of services. We are the receivers of references, and some people who have huge chunks of clients, people who have they've been giving expert services to for multiple services to, or they are the one-stop solution for them, they are the ones who refer. Both of them make money through each other, but the point is the approach towards collaboration should be different. Now, traditional practitioners collaborating with traditional practitioners is not going to help so much. Experts collaborating with experts of a different domain to an extent, expert with the collaboration with an expert of the same domain a lot of times, because of course the expertise raises multifold. But an expert collaborating with an expert of expectation of we'll refer each other the clients of different domains never happens, because unfortunately people approach you for something and that is the only thing they reach out to you for. They don't ask you questions which are not in your list of services, or you're not known for it. So that's exactly so. The thing is that a CA who is powered with tools like Power BI, Python, AI tools, he or she will add value immediately. So the takeaway is that learning is no longer optional. It is a crime to yourself, and you should be judged in the court of law of your conscience and not any other. No disciplinary committee should take action. You yourself should take action on yourself for being lenient towards your CPE, whatever it is, just paying the check, taking annual memberships. Why exactly do CAs need annual memberships? I would definitely ask them, why do they take annual membership? Because they get attendance for all the programs. What's the point, sir? What's the point? Taking out annual memberships and not going is just like me expecting to have a 20-inch bicep by just having a gym membership. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry. Rather, it's better to go in just the number of seminars that you have for CPE, requirement for CPE, and of course, attending them actually, no matter you learn them or not, no matter you understand everything or not. Don't be choosy, take the various seminars. Because let's say you are a practitioner in GST, and probably the problem is people, the kind of crowd that we have in terms of income tax and GST tells me that people try to go into seminars which relate to their practice directly. My question to you is, not all the times you have, not every time you'll have an expert question, not every time you'll need expert knowledge. Why don't attend seminars of practices which are different from your technical KRO? This will actually elaborate your perspective. I hope you're getting my point. Right? Now let's talk about emotional intelligence. How emotional intelligence can be enhanced. Now, being a great CA is no longer about the sharpest technical mind. I am sure many of you in the audience who have been into practice from the last 30 plus years, you understand that earlier the most important CA or the most sought after accountant in the city or in the area was the one who was the most skilled or had the sharpest technical mind, who was very sharp with the law. It is equally, if not more, about how well you understand people. You understand the law? Totally okay. You don't understand people. You're not able to convince people that your solution will work, and I'm sorry, they will go to YouTube and re-verify your solutions. Today, people come to you with answers. They don't come with problems. They come with solutions and just verify that your solution is correct or not. If you understand their approach, you know whom to entertain and whom to cut down. You know whom to talk more to and where do you need to keep your mouth shut. That is the work of emotional intelligence. The moment you get into a room, the moment you are inside a room, you should quickly be able to judge what to do next. There's a lot of activities that I do around emotional intelligence in classroom settings, but I'm sorry, in this environment, I can just tell you to do it yourself. Uh, Imagine this: you get in a room. Okay, you crack a joke like you always do, make it funny, make the environment a little light, and how about you just, you see everybody is not laughing, see everybody is not at all moved by your So funny, so great joke. Why did it not remove? Because you realize after 5 minutes, after 2 or 3 minutes of your bad joke, of your lame joke, that your joke was not lame. It was lame because somebody just lost a family member inside the room you just entered in. Sorry, that was lack of emotional intelligence that you did not read the room properly. If somebody invites you to their family home for dinner and you are new in a company and you started working with someone, the first answer should be no. Sorry, I don't want to be an inconvenience. I don't want to interpose. I'm sorry. And thank you. Thanks for the invitation, but I'll see for myself. Wait for the second or third invitation at least. Why? Because first one is just politeness. You know, there's one thing which I really love about etiquette. Etiquette automatically makes you a little more emotionally intelligent. I'll tell you how. So, the European table manners, we have taken those courses. One of the most funny thing which I used to think was that between courses you change your side. So you don't talk across the table, you don't talk to people far from you. First, I can talk here and I can talk here. Mostly we start with the right person sitting on our right. You guys are seeing me reverse, so on the right. We start with talking with the person on our right, and it is recommended that if it's a 5 course meal, that the moment the course changes, you sit down and then you start talking to the other person. So nobody is left out, and you get a chance to speak to multiple people, have conversations at multiple ends. There's another law. Another thing, knives are never used on breads. So I know it sounds a little weird, but yeah, knives are not supposed to be used on breads. Why? In medieval times, the knives were not the fancy knives that you use today. The knives used to be the actual daggers they used to use. So there was a lot of times a little bit of blood was on there. So they did not want to use knives on bread because it could get stale. So instead, they used knife only on the meat products and they used to eat from there. Now, yes, these practices are medieval, but what stands today is talking to people on both sides of the table, making good conversations, making good eye contacts, not finishing up on your plate quickly. One of the things which is very important in table manners, and people have different opinions about it. I had a very good conversation with one of my friends from Britain who was telling me, and we were talking about etiquette around 5 or 6 months ago. And she happened to tell me that what I believe in modern day we should do, that if we have served ourselves, if we have taken something from the community plate to our plate, it's something we should always finish. But if somebody has served it to us, try to leave a little. Don't finish it up. Why? Because we want to make sure if the host has served you, and if you finish it up, that means they've not served you enough. So the little bit you leave on your plate means that they've served you enough that you've been full, and now they can be satisfied that they served you well. There's another etiquette. Uh, I'm so sorry. When I was young, people used to say it's an Indian habit to get late. And when I grow up older, I realized that's an etiquette. So if you have a dinner invitation, especially for parties, for home visits, if it's an 8 o'clock invitation, never reach at 8 o'clock. That is rude, actually. If you reach at 8, you didn't give them enough time to prepare. You give them 15 minutes to prepare, and then we can, be available. Now, what will we do of this, Nakul? You've been telling us so much about emotional intelligence, so many things you've talked about. You've been blabbing in a room sitting with yourself. What will a chartered accountant do with emotional intelligence and etiquette? Come on. Come on, guys. Give me a break. Don't you negotiate with clients? Tell me, you have a service, you charge a fee for it. There's always discussions about what your client wants to pay and what you think is the right price. Don't you have, don't you have a negotiation meeting? What happens in negotiation? The client, the right reaction at the right time is actually the art of negotiation. Yes. Right reaction, right time, absolute art of negotiation. You will have conflicts within the team, outside the team, with the client, with the department. How to best resolve them? Emotional intelligence. I'll tell you what. You heard both the things that you should not keep on reacting all the time. Don't be as reactive as a reactive metal on the what table is that? What chemistry students used? Periodic table. Sometimes people say people who don't react enough. are often the ones who are mistreated, which is correct. Right time calls for right reaction, and that is emotional intelligence. That sometimes being too quiet gives away, and sometimes speaking too much gives it away. So, who knows what is the correct approach? I think one thing you can absolutely bag in your emotion, that your emotional intelligence is the key. What is the time to react? What is the time to shut up? And there's a book by John Grisham, I think, John Graham, which was A Time to Kill. I'm sorry, it's not something I recommend, but I don't recommend people to kill, but they give you situations, stories where it was absolutely, I mean, your mind will agree that it was a time to kill. That was the only solution the person had left with them. Now, leading the staff in high pressure audits. This is a different approach. You have to reach the client. The pressure is huge. You don't want to lose the client. You don't want to delay the file, but you don't want to sign unauthorized things. There's so many things going in your brain. Being emotionally intelligent, managing the right people, managing your team, managing the staff, managing the client's team, managing the client's staff, and the leadership of the client side, and ensuring that the right things, right notes are being hit at every possible time is a thing way more difficult than you understand unless you have emotional intelligence. So, and there is a difficult advice theorem. So not just in medicine, but in finance also. And I'll tell you, finance is way more critical than medicine. I have a very important reason to say it. Because when you say that somebody is about to die, it is just one person who's about to die. The other person will still have a life full of opportunities. When you say you're about to go bankrupt, you're saying you, your partner, your family, your friends, your elders, everybody is losing from the pool because the money which a person holds, the wealth which a person holds, that wielding is not his own personal. It is wielded by the entire family, friends, and people around them. So you are taking away the security, safety, and opportunity of not just themselves, not just their kids, but the kids of their kids and their kids thereon, the opportunities that were about to come. Money represents something way more than life sometimes. I know it sounds very painful, but it is true. And this is why people value money more than life sometimes. Because money, if money was less important than life. There's nothing like what is less important. If you have money, you'll value life more. If you have life, you'll value money more. It's like that. Because people who don't have a lot of time to live, they spend millions to stay alive. And people do pay money to die at times. Sorry, people do die to ensure somebody in their family gets the money. So that's the kind of thing. There is advice which is difficult to give our clients where they might have been losing, where you might have to inform or tell the client that they need to pay the unacceptable amount of demand that is showing up against their name. They need to pay off to save from, let's say you have to pay to a person whose net worth is 5 crores, to tell them you have to pay 1 crore to make sure that you don't have to pay 10 lakh more of an interest, confirming it with them. But they should not be angry at you. They should have trust with you. That faith takes a lot to develop. If a client faces a raid, if there's a raid on a client, they need assurance and not your jargons. You know, a practical situation, nobody, and tell you why some people are expert at raids. The law is the same. Some people are filing returns and some people are taking care of raids and some people are taking care of cases. Why? Raids, your emotional intelligence takes precedence. At that time, the clients need to make sure the person who assures them the most is right in front of them. Assurance, yes, of course, your technical expertise is the one. Second is how you manage the situation, how you give jargons, or you giving them assurance, relatable, acceptable, and believable assurance. A startup founder usually resists the compliance the most because they don't need lectures. They need empathy and solutions that are framed in his or her language. Because startup founders don't have enough money. And even if whatever money they have, unfortunately, they have investors riding on their back, asking them to give results, asking them to show the spending, asking them to show and riding on their backs for ensuring that no money is being wasted. No money goes to anywhere except sales, marketing. So empathize with them. I know investors, if I was talking to a startup founder and I have to tell them that you need to ensure that your pollution certificates are up to date, would always say that I understand it's difficult. And I'm ready to offer you all the help that I can. I can give you the advice of it being mandatory, but you need to get this done. And also make sure you frame it in their language. They don't understand your language of jargons that it is mandatory, this and that. You say, if they seal your business, if they seal your account, if they seal your factory, you will not be making sales. They don't worry about sales. Tell them your investor will get curious. Your investor will stop investing. You'll not get the next round of funding if your sales stops, if there's a compliance cost, if there's a case burden. Startup founders do not understand sales. They don't understand business. They understand investor. They understand money which will come to them. They're not selling products. They're not selling services. They're selling their brands which they're building and they're selling them off to investors. So that's their problem. That's their point which you need to reach. That is emotional intelligence. Self awareness is the first. You should know what you want, what you are, who you are. I told you first understand what is your approach towards practice. Are you an expert you're trying to be, or you are aiming to be an expert? Or second, are you the one who is here to take in the clients and distribute it in various experts? Right? Then self control. Reactive reactions do not resolve problems. Be controlled. Make sure that you have a control over your reactions. Empathize with your clients. Try and understand what they go through. Try and understand their feeling. Don't try to sympathize, empathize. And then talk. Be honest, be rude, be compliant. Sympathy sometimes makes you do the wrong thing. Empathy will always make sure that you give the harsh news as well, but you give them with a sense of empathy. Once you are aware about yourself, you have self control, you have empathy. One of the biggest mistakes and absolutely biggest blunder which people do is not listening properly. Many times people say the client doesn't know what they need. They know what they need. They don't know the language you understand. The problem is you are not ready to speak their language. And I'm being very honest about this. If you're not ready to speak the language they speak, I'm sorry. You are actually wrong on your part as a professional in this case. Right? Understand. Listening properly is very important. Now, before you deliver any information, before you deliver any advice to your client, always ask the question, how does your client feel about this? And not just is the advice correct or not. Also ask the question if your advice is correct or wrong, but also add a question in your head that what do you think the client will feel about the advice that I'll give them? And not don't have the same damn answers that he'll just feel bad, he'll just don't want to pay. Think about it. What will hurt him the most? What point he will be dwelling upon? That's one key thing that you need to develop. So I hope you understand the emotional intelligence part. I hope you've been able to collect the embracing of continuous learning. Now, my other part is we left two parts of today's session and we'll try to finish them a little quicker, but we will try to make sure we cover them as well. So next part of today's session is developing resilience in the dynamic environment. So how do you develop resilience? First question is what is resilience? Right? What is resilience that you talk about, Mr. Arora? I'll tell you what I want to talk about when I say resilience. The world of a chartered accountant, the world a chartered accountant lives in is extremely or inherently uncertain. As an accountant, you understand the term inherently. It is inherently uncertain because there are frequent regulatory changes. GST was one. IBC, Insolvency Bankruptcy Code, came out of nowhere. Ind AS, IFRS came. Updates come in day and day out. Circulars, notices come in to update income tax, GST, accounting, corporate law. Everything keeps on moving faster than you can digest. There are unexpected crises at client ends. Always. This is one of the things which happens more often than we want to accept and talk about. Then, of course, there's market slowdowns. Business gets slow. And one of the things is that many CAs are facing the challenge, and they do face the challenge that when they want to get their services done, like, for example, I provide a lot of services to CA firms. I do give them services of, developing their SOPs, their audit manuals, ensuring their audit documentation is proper going forward, ensuring they're safe from any NAFRA actions or anything, or ensuring their audit knowledge bank is up to date. Now, my problem is that I get this problem from a lot of my clients that when we have to comply or when we have time is April, May, June, we don't have that kind of money to pay me. And when we have the money to pay you, the time is so less because you have to provide services during that time. So instead of panicking, resilience is not breaking under these shocks. Making sure you bounce back stronger. That is resilience. You will have a shock, you will fall down, you will be buried under concrete. But the point is, if you were able to bounce back stronger, that's the only concern. Let's talk about practical approach. Instead of panicking when the law changes, adopt a mindset of curiosity. Have a curiosity when a law changes. How quickly the book comes to your shelf, how quickly you start studying it, how quickly you want to know what has changed, how quickly you want to act on it. And also ask the question, what opportunity it creates for me? There is always opportunity in change. See what opportunity it can give you. That's the kind of things we're looking for. Huh? Hoping you understand, and then, of course, in situations like unexpected client crisis. What are client crises? Recently in May, I was giving services to one of my clients. He used to export medicines or some products to the cross border, and we had some conflict with our neighbor as a country, and the business got shut down. The business was not able to attract its payment. It was not able to serve any longer. And yeah, yesterday they were talking to me that other things are going on, but small businesses are taking a hit. My reaction to that entire situation was pretty basic. That it's a client crisis. I knew my payment will be not coming in from this client for the next few weeks or months, maybe until the problem resolves itself. Any other person in this situation, what should they do? I don't know what they would have done. I know what I did. I did a simple reaction that I know my client will not be in a position to pay me for at least a year or and a half. So it's as good as they're not able to pay me at all. Why don't I start preparing myself for the situation that they don't pay me? And I start hiring other clients. I start ensuring that their money is listed as non-receivable in the immediate effect and not, and certain expense right in front of that receivable that I have from that client. That was one thing. There'll be others. Your client might shut down its business. Maybe one of the directors of the two dies and they don't have one, the other one loses interest to the business any longer. What to do in this situation? What to do to you? Well, I have an answer for you. You just keep quiet. You just have the reaction that you need. Help them in closing and start looking for a new client. Don't panic in this situation. What panics you can have is what will happen with the fees that you've been having due. You've been raising due bills for a long time. Trust me, don't have too many dues. Don't give clients unnecessary time to pay because ultimately they're also waiting for the time their business will close or the generation will change and ultimately your payment will be due forever. The last bill will never get paid. Maybe because when you give 10 or 20 bills, trust me, if you're given 20, 15 of them will not be paid. So not just after something happening, resilience is developed. Resilience is something which your actions have from a longer time than you actually, they're actually fostered in the real life. So market slowdowns, bug back stronger, you know, unexpected client crisis, whatever it is. So inherent uncertainty is the one which is giving you the most trouble, right? So An adaptive thinker, an emotional intelligence leader, resilient professional, and a collaborative strategist, the one you are. We expect more than that. You know why? Because the world we operate in is changing faster than even before. Laws are evolving overnight. Technology is disrupting entire industries in months, and client expectations are shifting consistently. Right? And the only way we remain relevant is by embracing an agile mindset, anchored in adaptability and collaboration. Right? So those days are gone. Now new days are here. Embrace the tools, you know, embrace the oxygen, which is learning. You no longer are expected to only have the technical mind. You're expected to have emotional intelligence, manage conflicts within your teams, lead staff in high pressure times. Tax rates don't need jargons. They need your help. They need your assurance, right? So now, what about the cases where people are losing their sanity, lives in young ages? Why is that happening? When I say resilience, resilience is not just to the regular stress, it is to the change. And change makes makes you less resilient. To be resilient, you need to develop stress management practices. You need to develop practices where your headspace is correct. Have go to a gym, take meditation, take a balanced diet, have a balanced life, focus towards work-life balance. What does this all mean? This all develops your resilience. Resilience is not just a one-fold thing, it's a multifold. It's a multifold scenario. Multifold develop yourself. No? Curiosity should be there. And again, that bouncing back stronger case. Right? It's not about resisting the storm. It's about learning to dance in the rain. Understand. Failure of one client engagement is not failure of your career, it's a feedback. Until the day you are taking your failures as feedback and developing them by the next client who comes in. Trust me, you're not a failure. It's not your career that is failing. It's just a client assignment. It's just maybe one client fails. Many a times our clients fail. Right? So resilience does not mean breaking under the shocks, but bouncing back. Way stronger, way happier. Right? Now let's move forward and come to another important part, which is fostering the collaborative mindset. Traditionally speaking, CAs used to work in silos. I know the law, I'll handle it. It was, I know the law, I will handle it. But modern problems require modern solutions, which is multidisciplinary solutions. We have multidisciplinary practice, MDP. That is why, because there's multidisciplinary problems people are having, and they need, sorry, the problem is modern, and the solution that it needs is multidisciplinary. Work with the lawyers for cross-border structuring. You may have to work with technical experts for data audits. Even your normal company audit requires the certification of audit trail or something. That also needs to have the technical experts with you. If there is ESG, you'll have to work with people like me who are consulting on ESG. For HR audits, you need to work with psychologists, brain mapping experts. So today's problems are different, and so are solutions. You need to be multidisciplinary. You need to be able to collaborate not just with CAs with different expertise, but you are equally expected to work with other professionals of various expertise. Now, one thing you need to learn is with this collaboration, your horizon will be expanded. You will retain those clients who will otherwise go to one stop. I don't want to say the number, the big, the big cow's number of legs. And of course, if you have a collaboration, if you have a team, You build credibility as a problem solver, not just as a form filer, right? But then collaboration has to be smart. There has to be a lot of emotional intelligence there, a lot of continuous learning. You need to be able to, have trusted set of people who provide different services. And collaboration is more important for people who have clients. And they have been doing collaborations from way earlier than you agree. There are people who just get business and give it to different CAs. Many CAs do that practice. Even they used to do it 30, 40 years ago. And even today they do it. And they don't go to the cheapest alternative. They have the people, they get one work done from the other work done from why. So this is collaboration. This is an expanded horizon. This is actually one stop, how they make one stop firms. And this is what traditional practice means. People say traditional practice means filing GST, filing income tax, that is done. No. You being one stop solutions for clients is traditional practice. And how will you now change that? Now you need collaboration because there are multiple compliances, there are multiple experts required to solving a similar problem, which earlier used to be solved by one person, now needs multiple persons to solve that single problem. Why? Because different problems have different expertise. The whole law has evolved beyond the expected. Tax is not just tax, direct and indirect is different. And even in indirect taxes, there are multiple things that people are experts of. Some people are just experts of GST refund. They don't do any other practice. Some people are just experts at GST registrations, compliances. Some people are experts at return filing. Some people are experts at cases. Some people are expert at appeals. Very recently, you will get people are expert with only tribunals. There are different experts coming in at different levels, right? So just give me like this is an example. Like if and this is what we did very recently, and that was a collaboration between two expert firms. So we hired one person because we do certain works and we wanted a cybersecurity auditor. And we cybersecurity firm, sorry. We were also he's also chartered accountant, so I call them a cybersecurity auditor, but they're a cybersecurity firm. So they had to get the ISO done and some cybersecurity exercise was being carried out at one of our clients. So now my job was there to create the right strategy, right SOPs, and how the client, which could have had frauds, were prevented is because one of them was cybersecurity expert, and I was expert with the financial part. And that's, my friend, collaboration in action, bare nude collaboration in action, right? So finally, let's take our horses and get ready to park them at the last topic of the day, and then we'll summarize the entire day, what we've done and what we've been discussing. Okay. So, first thing is agile mindset. What is agile mindset? Adaptability and collaboration is equal to agility. An agile CA, what is an agile CA? Who responds to change instead of resisting it. Respond to change. Get through yourself. That is agility. Change, opportunity. Threat, opportunity. Change. So if you respond to change instead of resisting it, agile CA. Is one quality enough? There are four. Four qualities make a CA agile. One is, of course, their response to change. Right? Then agility also involves experimentation, involves learning, involves to quickly pivot. You can never be good at adaptation. You can be quick or not quick. Adaptation is either quick or not. You can never be good or bad at adaptation. You can be quick or you can be slow. So if you experiment, you try to come up with solutions which more than one or two people will be able to think about. And any solutions below that kind of people, number of people thinking about it is actually, in fact, an experiment. And then, of course, you learn from your mistakes. Hope you don't make any, but whenever you make a mistake, whenever you make a flaw, you pivot very quickly. You know, and then there's a rigid process you guys follow. I understand that. But the outcome that the client gets is way above the rigid process that you're following. The client outcome being above a rigid process is a true mark of an agile accountant. Don't just think like an auditor or professional. Agility involves thinking like an entrepreneur, not just an auditor. Right? So, what are the four things that you need to be an agile CA? Agility, respond instead of resist. For what? Change. Experiment, learn, and what? Pivot as fast as possible. Above your rigid process that you're following, it should be client outcomes. Did we have any reaction from anybody in the middle? I think I had some sort of a disturbance in the middle. I'm so sorry. Then put your thinking, change your thinking from just an auditor to an entrepreneur. All right. There's a closing thought that I have about the entire discussion that we've had is that the future will not belong to the strongest or the most intelligent. We've seen it at the times of extinction of the dinosaurs, but to the most adaptive and collaborative. Adapt and create a big collaboration, create a big hive of similar minded people. As chartered accountants, our greatest asset will not be the certificate on our wall, but the mindset which we carry to every challenge will be our greatest asset. Now, let's try and summarize what we have learned today. So, we started with understanding the title, which was Adaptability, Collaboration, Agile Mindset, and it had so many parts. We talked about embracing learning, continuous learning. The problem is people are ready to learn, but they're not ready to continuously learn. And that's a way different thing from, traditional learning. Traditional learning has starting and ending points. Continuous learning starts at a certain point and it is never ever ending. Right? Beyond that, knowledge expires faster than ever in the modern circumstances. And as an accountant, you need to learn beyond the law. What are the things you need to learn beyond the law? Artificial intelligence, data analytics, leadership. These are beyond the law. So, expiry of the knowledge is fast, so you keep on updating and learning more and more things. And beyond the law, be expert at AI, data analytics, leadership. And most importantly, by embracing continuous learning, you will continue to stay relevant and, of course, stay valuable. Then, of course, after that discussion, we had a discussion on enhancing emotional intelligence. Is enhancing emotional intelligence. Clients will always value empathy over your jargons. I'm sure there are many jargons that you have for them, but clients don't value jargons, they value your empathy. Emotional quotient helps in negotiations. You believe it, you don't believe it, you make use of it, you don't make use of it. Emotional quotient helps in negotiation, conflict, and most importantly, trust building. All these three are just all taken care of by emotional quotient. And most important, self awareness plus empathy is equal to leadership. Knowing the other person is important. Right? Many people think knowing the other person equals to leadership. Know yourself first. And empathy is actually about the other person. Understand what other, not just what the person wants, what are they going through. If you understand yourself, then you understand what they're going through, you resiliate, and then you become a great leader. Beyond what you can accept, beyond what you can expect from yourself, you are a better leader than that. But that, my friends, requires great level of emotional quotient, right? Self-awareness and empathy. How to develop resilience? Frequent regulatory and market changes which are happening today are leading to uncertainty. And resilience accounts to bouncing back stronger than the situation which brought you in. You will fall, you'll be buried under 6 feet of concrete, and then there'll be rock bottom. But when you bounce back beyond the point from where you fell, is actually resilience. See the changes as opportunities and not threats. That is resilience. Have the opportunity to discuss about the fostering of collaboration. Now, this is a multifold issue. Fostering collaboration is a multifold issue. It's a problem in its own self. I understand you want to have MDPs, you want to have different CAs together. But my problem, and I again am emphasizing it on this because it is important. If you have collaborations with people without the thought of how this will affect, there is no point in collaborations. You should have a clear understanding that am I a giver or am I a receiver in this relationship? It is not possible that I'll give you this, you'll give me that, and there's a barter system. No, there's a reason why money was invented. There's a reason why there was an instrument of exchange. Because the receiver and giver are seldom same. They're seldom same. They're very rarely same. So, because if you're a receiver, understand you're a receiver here. And don't and be ready to offer the kind of payout you need to give to the person who's giving business to you, because you will not be able to give equivalent business back. Very, very difficult. Very, very harsh truth is that one person has control over number of clients. You don't. If you had control over the number of clients, you would have started giving. And sometimes this is true that even a person who thinks he's giver at 10 different places, but because his expertise, the kind of clients who need somebody are with somebody who an level of expert. So that is a possibility that I'll dump the business down there. He can be a receiver, but then the relationship will be similar for a certain period of time. It is practically, theoretically, it is possible. Practically, it is impossible that one person and two people are just giving to and fro business. They don't do it. Practically, what is happening is one person is manipulating other person to give it to him and not even paying back anything, not even paying the right amount of share or the referral fee that they deserve to receive in this case. And that, my friends, is what is called collaboration in the traditional sense. No, that is not the collaboration we are aiming. As accountants, we need to practically understand and accept the reality that collaboration, we can either be the giver or we can be the receiver, and not the both will not work. If both of us are ready to receive, if we are ready to receive, we'll both try to receive. Somebody is giving and somebody is receiving. This is possible. Both trying to give still can make a lot of sense, but both trying to receive do not make sense. And that is why you need to choose. What happens is in today's world, many people asked me for a long time that why don't I have partners? Why didn't I add 100 partners, 10 partners? I have many friends. It's not about adding partners. There is supposed to be a certain level of synergy to start with, partnering with people, to start with collaborating with people. If there is no synergy, even my best friend is useless for me to collaborate with me in terms of business. And this is the smallest point which many people do not understand. Greatest business idioms are being used in this country for selling MLM, but not in terms of running a well established practice of an accountant is happening around us. Because you'll have multidisciplinary solutions, because you'll have multidisciplinary approach to the problems, you will have a higher client retention. And that is one of the core of while we are learning these soft skills. New clients will be added, but the point is the old ones will not go. The old ones will have more business with you, more ties with you, right? Collaboration will turn you from a professional to a strategist. And that matters more than what you think. I promise you. You become a strategist, you'll have bigger opportunities for yourself. You can actually have it written on a paper, have a UDL from me and get it signed. Collaboration will make you into a strategist. Of course, that last line was a joke. I hope I'm not quoted for it. Finally, we move to the last part of the session, and we are summarizing that an agile mindset for a chartered accountant. What does that mean? It means to adapt fast, pivot quickly, and co create solutions with stakeholders. Future belongs to adaptive and collaborative skills. Having everything, having your eye over every item on the table is again a bad strategy. Similarly, having a person who does not want to adapt, who just wants to stay in the business, who just wants to be known for what they have learned 15 years ago, I'm sorry, no longer will stay relevant. To stay relevant, you need to make sure that you have make sure you've adapted to the situation, adapted to different case scenarios, and you've collaborated. And one more thing, if I'll see if I can show you. I wanted to show you something, the kind of market trend which is going on. Just give me 1 second. If I can pull out that folder for you, it will be nothing better than that. Just allow me one last minute. I am trying to show you something which will give you a sort of perspective which I need. Even after so many people will convince you that what's right and what's wrong, I still have something for you that will give you the perspective that not always what we hear in popular meetings and popular people speaking about is the correct approach. And that, my friends, is one of such things is just a moment. One moment. I have not at the right state for that. I've pulled up the right presentation, but I need to make sure I show you the right slide. Yeah, the right slide. You see, there's a lot of pay gap in the services, and such services are actually, you know, such services are actually, such is the market of the services for chartered accountants. And I promise you, it might seem surprising, but still, the most traditional services are still the most ones in demand. Audit and assurance, tax advisory, M&A, these family offices, succession, CSR norms, these all are in the last 3 or 4%, last, few thousand crores that people are looking for it. And we are trying to build careers out of this. Is my formal resistance to such movement and such thinking. So my conclusion to today's entire session, my friends and family, my fellows, my accountants, whosoever is listening to me right now, I think that it is safe to say now that I hope we understand the situation, the way I've tried to explain you the entire scenario, and please ensure that you understand that the future will not belong to the strongest or most intelligent, but to the adaptable and collaborative CAs. What mindset you have is most important. That's all it from me. I hope my moderator is ready to take over from here, and I'm ready to hand it over back. Mute.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, sir, for the wonderful session. We are waiting for a few seconds for anyone to post any queries on the chat box, or then we can wind up. So I think there are no questions in the chat box, so we can wind up the session. So thank you so much, sir. It has been such an honor to be a part of this wonderful webcast on adaptability and collaboration, the agile mindset for CAs, organized by the Professional Skill Enrichment Committee, ICAI. On behalf of the committee, we would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to our speaker, CA Nakul Arora, for his enlightening session. And a wild round of applause and thanks to the organizer, Professional Skill Enrichment Committee, ICI, our today's speaker, CA Nakul Arora, and all the other stakeholders who has made this webcast a memorable one. Finally, we would like to make this webcast a grand success because of all the participants present here. Thank you all. Thank you, sir, for your dedication.